Hello. If we're doing a video, this must mean that I have something to share, and I do. And I also want to show you a piece of art that I have just finished. And so, um, if you're not familiar with my work, I do paint Bible pages, and this page in particular came from an early 1900s Bible. It's a King James version. It is based on the verse in 1 Peter 1:16, "Be holy, for I'm holy." And because I'll read you this exact page, because it is written, "Be holy, be ye holy, for I am holy." And anyway, I had this vision for what I wanted to paint on it. And then for whatever reason, I had all the materials. And when I sat down, I just couldn't bring myself to use any of that. I went a completely different direction instead. And I love mixed media. So I'm going to turn off the light here so you don't catch that reflection. You will still get a bit of my screen reflection that you see here. But if I cover that up, then I can't see what I'm showing you in the video. So we'll have to suffer with that a little bit. But I really like being able to see more of the original page behind. I don't like covering up the whole page, but the only verse that's actually fully exposed is the verse that I just read you, as it is written, "Be holy, for I am holy." Anyway, so, and for all of you people that might like sheen, there is some rose gold accents on there. So that's what's outlining the verse itself. And you can see it in other places throughout. And it might even show up on the verse down here in the bottom corner. You can't see because of the glare. Anyway, so that's one of my latest pieces. And of course, I have reflections that I would like to share with you just from the time when I sit down to paint. I like to meditate on verses, and so it helps me do that. And, you know, walking in truth might not be the first words that come to mind when you think about this verse or being holy, but we all come from different places and different experiences. And one of the things that I love about the Word of God is that it can minister to you, the same verse can minister to you over and over and over and over again throughout the course of your life and speak to you about so many different things. And while holiness may come to mean many things to each of us over the course of our lives, and as we draw closer to Christ, the season that I'm in overwhelmingly seeks to speak truth. So what I mean is that I didn't really realize how much I ever withheld it. Maybe not tried to lie or even specifically deny things, but I wasn't forthcoming in a lot of things that I should have been, or more assertive in some conversations. And so in many ways, I didn't even know what my truth was. So I'm going to share some deeply rooted messages and beliefs that I've identified as obstacles to being able to use my own voice from various points in my life. Maybe you'll relate to some of them. An old me needed validation. Let me turn my light back on real quick. Voila, and there was light. An old me needed validation from others before I could even make decisions or even buy into my own ideas. And as a child, I witnessed domestic abuse, not just between one or two people, but several parties. And so I learned you get the idea quickly to not make waves. And if we knew better, we just kept quiet. My family was also raised on the motto that children are meant to be seen and not heard. So you didn't talk back, you didn't make noise, you didn't share your opinion because you were just a child. And while my family was a lot, or my parents were looser with me than their parents were with them, that was still a message that was hardwired into our family. Um, I don't know where it came from, but I also discovered that I often withheld truth simply because I believed that that was kind, that it was loving, that it was honoring, and even more respectful to do so. And I think other times we can convince ourselves that we're taking the high road by not getting involved in drama or complicated conversations, when really we might be avoidant, afraid of being vulnerable, or even admitting that we're struggling with whatever that conversation is and letting people into that part of us. As an adult, I lacked healthy communication skills. I didn't know it. I did the best I could, but I didn't always ask questions when people's behavior confused or upset me, nor did I advocate for the things that I needed. You may have also heard of fight, flight, or freeze. And so very often, I mean, even in day-to-day things, especially like with my kids and parenting, just situations you would never even imagine, I would slip into freeze. And or even sometimes simply shut down. I would get so flooded with words and experiences that I couldn't form sentences or even pinpoint what needed to be said. Silence was just easier, which also, unfortunately, can come across as silent treatment if the other parties aren't aware of what's happening with you. something that you need to communicate. So most of these lessons have been learned the hard way, I assure you, and they are some that I'm still struggling with and learning about. Thankfully not struggling as much though. But either way, I know that list was long, but maybe you can relate to some of them. And I'm sure that there are many examples that I have left off the list that keep us from sharing ourselves more and being open to those conversations. If you have other examples, I'd love for you to reflect on that and share those ideas with me. Some of our truths, though, can be so heavily intertwined with other beliefs and experiences, it's hard to see how they might be people-pleasing. You know, I legitimately thought that I was being more respectful and honoring to other people and God because I was trying to stay so straight-faced all the time. But it was really not ruffling feathers and not stepping on toes and not hurting people's feelings. That's all people-pleasing based. So becoming a truth bearer, and not just in the name of Christ, but also in the daily expression of living, has taken a tremendous amount of focus, healing, and practice. I am learning and finding ways that my reflexes still want to hold back just as default, like as a result of the conditioning or sometimes overthinking that I can get into. And talk about uncomfortable. I've had to be willing to say a lot of wrong things in order for me to figure out what my right things are. And you can't always take some of those conversations back. And a lot of that came with hard lessons. But the more we put ourselves out there having those conversations, the more you get in tune with you and feeling what is right for you. And it makes those conversations eventually a little easier. Not saying they'll always be seamless, but it does start getting the wheels moving internally. You know, God doesn't call us to go against our values, to tolerate mistreatment, to let standards decline, or to conform to the majority. He created us to be active participants in the world around us, even if the only platform we have is in sharing our ideas, asking questions, or just developing our immediate relationships. Sharing truth is so important, and not just for the sake of putting ourselves out there, but I am reminded over and over again that our truth matters because of how much God cares for us, and because a bit of himself is in each of us. John 14:6 tells us that he is truth. Ephesians 5:1 says that we are to be imitators. Holiness is standing in the fullness of who we are and Christ in us, creating the life we desire with our words, just as our Father has done. If you're a person that has struggled like me, or if any part of this message resonates with you and you always second guess what you should say, please know, not only is it okay to speak your truth, but when we dress it in love, it is holy. I pray this message speaks to you. And if you would like to see this art up close, in person or buy it, let me know. There's only one of that print. And anyway, if you have questions, I'd love to be in touch. But thank you for your time, and many blessings.